Welcome to Deep Fear, where your darkest nightmares turn real. Tonight's story may just keep you awake, so let's start the video. And don't forget to subscribe. I always thought of the road as a kind of sanctuary. You know the feeling. Just you, your car, some music, and a long stretch of blacktop. No obligations, no people, no noise. In the fall of 2021, I decided to leave Colorado Springs and move to Reno, Nevada. My life back then felt like a dying engine. My relationship had fallen apart after 4 years. My job had me practically on autopilot, and my friends, let's just say people change. I had savings, no kids, and a Honda Civic with a few more years in it. So I rented a U-Haul trailer, packed everything I could, and Marley, my golden retriever, rode shotgun. I didn't want to waste money on hotels, so the plan was simple. I'd drive late into the night, pull off somewhere secluded, and sleep in the car with Marley. I'd done it before. I'm not reckless. I'm careful. But what happened on that road? No amount of planning could have prepared me. It was just after 10:30 p.m. when I crossed into Utah, somewhere past Green River. The signal on my phone had disappeared earlier. Not that it mattered. I had downloaded maps, podcasts, even Marley's favorite sleep music. The highway stretched on endlessly, not another set of headlights in sight. Not a single car behind me or in the oncoming lanes. It was a black ribbon in the desert, lit only by my high beams and the pale glow of the dashboard. I glanced at the fuel gauge. Half a tank. We were good. That's when Marley sat up. Suddenly, from a dead sleep. He didn't growl or bark, just stared ahead with his ears raised. I thought maybe a deer was on the road. Wouldn't be the first time, but there was nothing. That's when I saw it. At mile marker 237, there was a man walking on the side of the road. Now, normally I wouldn't have given it much thought. But this guy wasn't right. He wore a white shirt, completely clean despite the dust, long black pants, no backpack, no phone, not even a water bottle, just walking. Slowly, almost dragging his feet like he wasn't sure where he was going. I slowed a little as I passed, more out of instinct than anything. I don't pick up hitchhikers. I'm not that generous or stupid. But something about this guy made my heart beat faster. His head was tilted down. But I swear he turned just enough for me to catch a glimpse of his face. And he smiled. A slow, wide, unnatural smile. No teeth, just a dark space. I sped up. About 10 minutes later, I realized I'd forgotten Marley's food bag at the last gas station. I cursed, checked the time, 10:49, and considered pushing through, but I knew Marley would be miserable without it. I'd only driven about 15 miles. Screw it. I took the next turnout and started heading back east. The road felt different on the return. Heavier. Like the dark was somehow thicker. I kept checking my mirrors, not for cars, but for, I don't know, something. Marley sat silently, his nose pressed to the window, staring out into the black. And then, there he was. Same man. Same white shirt. Same slow walk. At mile marker 237. Again. He should have been farther ahead by now or behind, depending on whether I was seeing someone else. But it was him. Same building, same gate, same lifeless smile. This time he turned fully to look at me as I passed. I didn't slow down. I turned back into the gas station, grabbed Marley's food, and got back on the westbound lane, determined to drive straight past that marker without looking. But when I reached mile 237 again, he was standing in the middle of the road. I slammed the brakes. Marley barked wildly. The man didn't flinch. He stood still, like a mannequin, right in the center of the highway, facing me. His hands hung loose at his sides. His shirt was clean as ever. No sweat, no dust, And then he started walking toward me. Not fast, not aggressive, but steady, deliberate. I reversed, hard, burned rubber and spun around. I didn't care where I was going anymore. I just knew I wasn't going past mile marker 237 again. I pulled off the interstate at the next exit, which wasn't much. Just a 2-lane road heading into open desert. No lights, no signs, just dirt and scrub. I figured I'd keep driving until I found a rest area or even a dirt path to pull into and regroup. 10 minutes passed, then 20, and then I saw it. Another mile marker. It read 237. I stopped the car. My throat went dry. There was no way. I had turned around. I had exited the highway. This was a completely different road. There shouldn't even be mile markers out here. I stepped out of the car, heart racing, flashlight in hand. Marley growled low beside me, hackles raised. The sign was real. Metal. Planted in the ground. But the number wasn't painted. It was scratched in, like someone had carved it violently into the green with a blade. Suddenly, the air felt colder. Still. And then Marley started barking like crazy, facing the scrub brush behind us. I turned, flashlight flickering, and standing there was the man, just standing among the bushes, 20 feet away, still smiling, still staring. I dove back into the car and hit the gas. I didn't stop driving for a long time. I don't know how long, maybe 40 minutes, maybe more. The road was winding, narrow, unmarked. The GPS on my phone was frozen, just a gray screen with a spinning wheel. Marley had stopped barking, but he was panting and whining in a way I'd never heard from him before. I finally spotted an old gravel turnout and pulled in. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I shut the engine off and just sat there, breathing. "No more backtracking," I muttered. "We keep going west. No more mile markers." I opened the back to grab a water bottle from the cooler, and when I closed it, there was a third mile marker sign, right there at the edge of the turnout. This one wasn't scratched, it was just leaning, almost falling over. It read 237. I didn't scream, I didn't move, I just stood there in the gravel, cold air biting at my skin. Marley whined behind me, tail tucked. The world around us felt wrong. Not just dangerous, but sick. Like the land itself didn't want us there. Then I heard it. Footsteps, not fast, not loud, but deliberate. Crunching gravel, coming from behind the sign. I didn't even think. I threw open the car door, shoved Marley inside, and floored it back onto the road. I don't even remember how I stayed on the path. The headlights caught nothing but trees and brush, and it felt like the road was narrowing every mile. Eventually, out of nowhere, I saw lights. A faded neon sign flickered red just ahead through the fog. Mountain View Motel, vacancy. It was old, run down, looked abandoned, honestly. But there were 2 trucks parked out front, and lights in one window. I pulled in, jumped out, and practically begged the guy at the front desk for a room. He was maybe 60. Greasy hair, one cloudy eye. Looked at me for a long second before nodding. "Room 4, he said. "You here for the convention?" "What? No, just passing through." He smiled. "They always are." I didn't ask what that meant. The room was damp, cold, smelled faintly of mildew and old cigarettes, but it had a bed, a lamp, and a door that locked. Marley refused to sleep. He paced, occasionally growling at the door. Around 2 a.m., I finally dozed off. When I woke up, the room was completely dark, the lamp was off, even the exit sign in the hallway was gone. And in the reflection of the old TV screen, I saw someone standing in the far corner of the room. Him. He was still smiling, still silent. I turned around. Nothing. Corner was empty. But the reflection, It stayed. For 5 full seconds, still staring at me. I grabbed my keys, Marley, and left everything else behind. I didn't care. We left the motel and didn't stop until the sun was up. I crossed the Nevada border around 9 a.m., phone signal flickering back to life. The first notification I got was from the local weather app. Wind advisory in effect for I-70 around mile marker 237 due to recent fatal crash. My blood ran cold. I tapped the article. A man had been walking on the road. No ID, no car. He was hit around 10:30 p.m., exact time I passed him. But here's the part that made me almost crash the car. The article was dated September 14th, 2018. 3 years before my drive. Same road, same description, same mile marker. The man's clothes, white shirt, black pants, no next of kin, no records, not even dental. They never figured out who he was. It's been 3 years since that trip. I live in Reno now. I haven't taken a road trip since. Marley passed away last winter. Old age. I still keep his collar in my glove box. Sometimes when I'm driving late, I'll see a white shape in the distance, just off the shoulder. I never stop, never look. But I always check the mile markers. And every so often, I see 237, even in cities that shouldn't have mile markers. Even on roads I know aren't numbered. He's still out there. And I think he's still walking. We were 2 days into a 4-day cross-country drive when things started getting weird. There were 4 of us. Me, Jake, Chris, Maya, and Lex. All college friends. We just graduated and decided to do one last freedom trip before life swallowed us. The plan was simple. Drive from Austin to San Diego, taking back roads and the scenic route through New Mexico and Arizona. No strict schedule, no rules. Just a car, the open road, and a lot of gas station snacks. It was around 6:30 p.m. on day 2 when we hit traffic outside Albuquerque, an overturned semi on the main highway. Chris, who was driving, groaned and punched the steering wheel. Maya pulled up Google Maps and found a detour. Exit 53, head southwest. Cuts right under the jam and reconnects 30 miles ahead. We barely questioned it. After all, it was getting dark, and we were tired of inching along behind brake lights. We took the exit. We shouldn't have. The road after exit 53 was rough. Cracked asphalt, no street lights, barely any signage. It felt like we were driving into a place that had been forgotten. 10 minutes in, we passed nothing but dust and silhouettes of barbed wire fences. Then we saw the lights. It looked like a standard gas station. 2 dusty pumps, a flickering neon sign that just said gas, and a small convenience store attached. A single car was parked out front, an old brown station wagon, the kind you see in 80s movies. Chris pulled in. "Let's grab snacks and pee," Lex said. "Make it fast." Inside, it was weirdly quiet. The lights buzzed overhead. A little bell jingled when we walked in. The place smelled off. Like dust, plastic, and something faintly burnt. There was a man behind the counter. Mid-50s maybe, balding, thick glasses. He looked up, smiled too wide, and said, "Welcome, travelers. Long way from home, aren't you?" We all kind of chuckled awkwardly. Maya went to the bathroom. I grabbed a drink. Chris and Lex picked snacks. But something felt off. Not just creepy. Off. Like the air was too still. The fridges weren't humming. The clock on the wall was stuck at 9:01. And the guy behind the counter never blinked. Not once. As we were paying, Lex asked, "Hey man, where does this road go exactly?" "Just making sure it leads back to the main highway." The guy behind the counter nodded, still smiling. "Oh yes. This road always brings people back, eventually." Chris and I exchanged glances. "Eventually?" I asked. The man didn't answer. He just printed the receipt and handed it over. I glanced at it and froze. There was no price, no store name, just a timestamp, 9:01 p.m. But my watch said 7:47. I showed it to Maya when we got back in the car. She just said, "Weird. Their clocks are probably messed up." They weren't. Ours were. We left the gas station and got back on the 2-lane highway, following the GPS west toward the interstate. The road was straight, flat, desert all around. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Still no highway. No other cars, no signs, just blacktop and dust. Chris joked, "We must have taken the long detour." But then Maya said something that made my stomach drop. "Why are we almost out of gas again?" I looked. She was right. Despite filling the tank just 20 minutes ago, the gauge was almost on E. Lex reached for her phone. Let's check the map again. No signal, no GPS, no connection at all. We should have turned around. But the road had no turnoffs, no intersections, just an infinite empty stretch. And then we saw it again. The same gas station, same flickering sign, same station wagon, same man behind the window. We had never turned. But we were back. None of us spoke for a few seconds. We just stared out the windshield at the exact same gas station we'd stopped at earlier. Same warped pavement, same dusty pumps, same clock stuck at 9:01 behind the counter window. Chris whispered, "Is this a prank?" "It's not possible," Maya said. "We didn't turn around." Lex grabbed her phone again. Still no service. No GPS, nothing. "Let's just ask the guy," I said. "Maybe we missed a turn." We parked. This time, Marley, Lex's dog, wouldn't leave the car. He whined, then growled low as Lex tried to get him out. She gave up and left the window cracked. Inside, the gas station looked the same. But now, something was off. More off. The snack shelves were mostly empty now. The lights flickered every few seconds. The fridge door had shattered, and flies buzzed around an open pack of meat on the counter. The man was still there, behind the register, still smiling. He said, "Told you, the road brings people back. Eventually." I stepped forward. "Where are we? What is this?" He blinked, finally. Once. Then he leaned forward, rested both hands on the counter, and said softly, "You've already been here more times than you know." We ran out of the gas station. Didn't talk, just ran. Chris started the car and peeled off. The road was still endless, empty. We drove for what felt like hours. Maya was silent in the back seat, hugging her legs. Then she said, "Guys, did we come on this trip with 4 people?" We all froze. "What?" I asked. "There's 4 of us. You, me, Lex, Chris." She looked at us blankly. "No, I don't remember Lex." Lex whipped around. "What the hell does that mean?" Maya started shaking. I don't know, I swear. I remember the car, the road, the gas station, but I don't remember her being with us until now." Chris slammed the brakes. Lex turned pale. "You're screwing with me, right?" I checked my phone gallery. Every picture from the trip. Lex was in them. Except one, the very first one, before we left Austin. Lex wasn't there. Not in the photo. Not in the reflection. Nowhere. We tried everything. Turning around, driving 100 miles per hour, stopping, waiting, even turning off the engine and walking. It didn't matter. We kept returning to the same place. Sometimes it took minutes, sometimes hours. But we always returned to exit 53 and that damn gas station. And each time it changed. Grew darker. Emptier. Once, the man behind the counter wasn't there, just a TV playing static. Another time, the clock read 9:02. The last time, there was no building at all, just the pumps, rusted and covered in ash. And then Maya disappeared. We stopped to switch drivers, and she went into the woods to pee. She never came back. We searched, yelled, honked. Nothing. And when we returned to the road, none of us could remember her voice. Chris cried. Lex stared into the mirror for 20 straight minutes. I just drove. Eventually, there were only 2 of us left, me and Lex. Chris vanished sometime after we stopped to sleep. We took turns keeping watch, but I nodded off. When I woke up, the driver's seat was empty, and the door was still open. His phone was sitting in the seat. The last photo in his gallery was a blurry shot of the gas station, taken from inside the convenience store. In the reflection of the window, I swear to God, there were 5 people, but there were only ever 4 of us. Weren't there? Now it's just me. Lex was the last to go. I don't even remember how. Some days I hear her voice on the radio. Other days I see Maya's shadow in the back seat. And sometimes, when I blink, I see the clock on the dash flash 9:01. Even when the car is off, I've tried crashing, burning the car, walking away, but the road just keeps going. And sometimes, I pass another group of kids driving the opposite direction. I try to wave, to yell, to warn them, but they never see me. They just keep driving, toward exit 53. This happened to me in October of 2022. I was driving from Seattle to El Paso, over 1,800 miles solo. Not for fun. My dad had just passed away and left me his truck, and I was taking it back to Texas for my mom. The original plan was to fly, but I felt like driving. It just seemed easier to think that way. I was somewhere in southern Utah just past midnight. I had been driving for almost 10 hours straight. My back hurt, my eyes were dry, and I kept drifting toward the rumble strip. That's when I saw a sign. Rest area, 1 mile. It came out of nowhere, no billboard ahead of time, no icon on Google Maps, just that one white reflective sign. At that point, I didn't care. I needed to stretch, I needed a piss, I needed a minute away from the damn road. So I pulled off. And I wish I hadn't. The rest stop was bare bones. 1 long parking lot, 2 vending machines, a single building with men's and women's restrooms, no lights except 2 flickering poles near the center. Desert stretched out in every direction, flat, black, dead. There were 3 other vehicles parked there. An old RV, a box truck, and a red Honda Civic. No one outside. No movement. I parked 2 spots away from the Civic, locked up the truck, and headed toward the bathrooms. The men's room was dimly lit, smelled like stale piss, and had graffiti all over the walls. But it was clean enough. While I was washing my hands, I heard a stall door creak open behind me. I turned. No one there. I don't scare easy, but something about that silence made my skin crawl. I got out fast, walked back to my truck, and leaned against the door to stretch. And that's when I noticed something weird. The other vehicles? They weren't dusty, they weren't faded, they were frozen, like they'd been parked there for days or months. I got back in the truck and started the engine, headlights on, a C humming, put it in drive and pulled out of the rest stop, back onto the highway. Or tried to. About 2 minutes down the road, my headlights hit something ahead. A sign. Rest area, 1 mile. Same sign. I thought maybe I'd turned the wrong direction, so I flipped around, went the other way. Same thing. After 10 minutes of driving both directions, I saw the same sign 4 times. And each time I pulled off, I ended up in the same damn rest area. Even when I took different turns. Even when I closed my eyes and gunned it blind for 2 straight minutes. Same rest stop. The RV, the Civic, the box truck, Still there, only this time, there were lights on inside the RV. That's when I saw him. A man standing beside the vending machine. Middle-aged, ball cap, hoodie, just staring at the glass. I rolled my window down. "Hey, you all right, man?" He turned slowly, face pale, eyes sunken like he hadn't slept in weeks. Then he said, "You can't leave either, huh?" "What?" "This place, it lets people in, doesn't let them out." I didn't know what to say. I started backing up slowly. He stepped forward. "Don't waste your gas, just makes the nights longer." And then, before I could ask anything else, he walked away. Toward the restroom. Not in a rush, not afraid, just resigned. I watched him go, and then something made me check the mirror. There was someone in the bed of my truck. I jumped out so fast I didn't even close the door. Shined my phone flashlight into the truck bed. Nothing. But the impression was there, like someone had just been sitting cross-legged. Blanket marks, scuffed dirt. I checked the cab. No one inside. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and backed away from the truck entirely. Then I noticed the Civic. The dome light was on, and inside, I swear to God, there were two identical kids in the back seat. Twins, around 6 years old, faces pale, sitting perfectly still, no one in the front seat. They turned their heads toward me in perfect unison. I ran back into the restroom and locked myself in the stall. I stayed there for over an hour. My phone refused to turn on. Even the flashlight app had died. At one point, I swear I heard dozens of footsteps outside, some slow, some fast, some stopping right at the door. I didn't sleep, just waited for daylight. I finally stepped out when the light under the bathroom door turned soft and golden. It looked like dawn. But when I came outside, the sun wasn't rising. It was just stuck, low on the horizon. The sky was orange, but the shadows weren't moving. Time itself felt paused. The Civic was gone. The man was gone. But the RV door was now open. I looked inside. It was full of driver's licenses, hundreds of them, thumbtacked to the walls. All different states. Some so old they were faded into white. And carved into the inside of the door was one sentence: "You stop. You stay." I got in my truck and started driving again. This time I ignored the signs. Drove straight down the middle of the highway, headlights off, windows down. Eventually, I passed the same rest stop again. But this time, I didn't pull off. I drove past it going 90, heart pounding. And after a mile, I finally saw something new. Welcome to Arizona. I made it to El Paso 2 days later, exhausted, silent. When I unpacked my bag, I found something strange inside. A receipt, crumpled and old. Rest area number 31. Enjoy your stay. Time, 12 a.m. to infinity, and written in pencil on the back. If you see the sign, don't stop. If you enjoyed this nightmare, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.